A woman plants a fake ex to test if her boyfriend gets jealous, but the fake ex starts to fall for her. Alyssa Monroe was the kind of woman who noticed patterns, subtle changes in behavior, shifts in tone, pauses that lasted too long. She was 28, with caramel-toned skin that glowed under the city lights, long wavy black hair often tied loosely behind her, and a habit of biting her bottom lip when anxious. That morning, as she stirred her coffee in the corner booth of Café Ember, she couldn't ignore what had been gnawing at her for weeks. Her boyfriend Jordan wasn't acting like himself. They had been together for 2 years. He used to be attentive, spontaneous, affectionate, but lately distant, cold, like someone distracted or disinterested. Across the table, her best friend Mia watched her closely. "You think he's cheating?" she asked bluntly. Alyssa shook her head, sighing. "No, it's not that. It's more like, I don't feel chosen anymore." Mia leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Then test him. Give him a reason to show you what's really in his heart." Alyssa frowned. "How?" Mia smiled mischievously. "Jealousy. If he thinks an ex is back in your life, you'll get your answer real fast." Alyssa stared down at her cup. The idea sounded dangerous, tempting, and possibly brilliant. Back in her apartment later that night, Alyssa couldn't stop replaying Mia's words. Could she really pull something like this off? Plant a fake ex into her relationship to provoke Jordan? It sounded ridiculous, cruel even. But the more she thought about it, the more the idea dug into her brain like a thorn she couldn't ignore. Mia had already done the legwork. Earlier that day, she sent Alyssa a profile link. The man's name was Dean Lennox, a local actor for hire with a reputation for immersive performances. His face was sharp, symmetrical, olive-toned skin, thick curly dark hair, piercing green eyes. His bio claimed he could play heartbreak like a violin. Alyssa clicked through his photos. He had the look, charming, confident, slightly dangerous, everything Jordan was not these days. Her phone buzzed. "Mia again. If you don't do this, you'll always wonder." Alyssa closed her eyes and thought about all the nights Jordan had come home late, brushed past her affection, or responded with distracted nods. Something inside her snapped. If she couldn't trust her gut, maybe she needed to manufacture clarity. She picked up her phone, heart pounding, and sent Dean a message. They met the next day at a cozy independent bookstore nestled between a yoga studio and an antique watch shop. Alyssa had chosen it carefully, neutral ground, public and quiet enough to talk. She wore a soft lavender blouse, high-waisted jeans, and sneakers. When Dean walked in, he immediately commanded attention. He wore a navy button-up shirt, sleeves rolled just enough to show strong forearms paired with relaxed gray slacks and confident energy. He spotted her instantly, smiled, and made his way over. "Alyssa," his voice was warm, disarming. "Nice to meet you in person." She stood, shook his hand. "Thanks for coming." They sat at a corner table with 2 iced teas between them. Alyssa laid out the plan, how she needed him to pretend to be an ex-boyfriend, someone she had recently reconnected with. He would bump into her while she was with Jordan, flirt a little, be charming, make Jordan wonder if he still had her heart. Dean listened without interruption, nodding occasionally. Then he smiled, a glint in his eye. "You want to make your boyfriend sweat a little, stir up some old fires?" Alyssa hesitated, then nodded. "I just want the truth to come out, one way or another." Dean leaned back, laced his fingers. "I can do that, but you should know I'm good at what I do, maybe too good." Over the next few days, Alyssa and Dean rehearsed their past. They met at neutral places, coffee shops, quiet parks, even her friend Mia's apartment. The goal was simple: build a believable history. First kiss stories, favorite vacations, inside jokes. Dean came up with vivid anecdotes on the fly. He described imaginary dates in New Orleans, laughing at fake memories like they were real. It was impressive, maybe too impressive. They practiced subtle gestures, how to touch her shoulder like it was second nature, how to lean in too close when speaking, how to hold eye contact just long enough to create tension. Dean was always professional, but his warmth sometimes slipped into something else. His compliments didn't always feel scripted. "You make this easy," he told her during one of their practice sessions. "You have that thing, magnetism." Alyssa rolled her eyes. "Save it for the performance." He just smiled. "It's not always acting." That night, Alyssa lay in bed thinking. She had signed up for a test, but it was beginning to feel like a real performance, one with unpredictable consequences. Was Dean getting too close, or was she? It was a Friday evening when the plan was set into motion. Alyssa invited Jordan to dinner at a trendy new tapas restaurant in the heart of the city. She wore a sleek burgundy dress that hugged her curves and brought out the gold flecks in her eyes. Jordan arrived in a fitted charcoal blazer and dark jeans, looking sharp, but tired, distracted like always. They were mid-meal when Dean made his entrance. He sauntered in with confident ease, dressed in a simple white dress shirt rolled to the elbows and black slacks. His hair was windswept just right and his smile perfectly timed. "Alyssa," he said, feigning surprise as he approached their table. "Wow, didn't expect to see you here." Jordan looked up slowly, already on guard. Alyssa turned, feigning surprise just as they'd practiced. "Dean, wow, it's been a while." Dean leaned in and kissed her cheek, an intimate gesture Jordan did not miss. "You look amazing," he said, ignoring Jordan completely. Jordan's eyes narrowed. "Who's this?" Dean turned with a casual grin. "I'm Dean, an old friend of Alyssa's. We go way back." Jordan didn't smile, didn't move, but Alyssa could feel the energy shift like a storm cloud overhead. The game had officially begun. The air between the three of them was thick with unspoken challenges as Dean pulled up a chair and sat down at the table like he belonged there. Jordan didn't hide his annoyance. He leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, eyes glued to Dean. Alyssa faked a nervous chuckle. "Dean was just passing by, right?" Dean smiled without missing a beat. "Was in the area, thought I'd say hi, couldn't resist." Then, without asking, he flagged the waiter. "Mind if I join you two for a drink?" Jordan's voice was low, almost a growl. "Actually, we're in the middle of something." Dean ignored him. "One drink won't hurt, for old time's sake." As he settled in, Dean launched into stories about his supposed past with Alyssa. Shared vacations, long walks, her love for old soul records. He touched her hand once during a joke. She pulled away instinctively, but not quickly enough, Jordan saw. Alyssa tried to guide the conversation to safer ground, but Dean expertly steered it back to their history. Jordan's face hardened with every minute, his jaw clenched tight. He barely touched his food. By the time Dean finally stood to leave, Jordan's mood had soured beyond recovery. That night, the silence between Alyssa and Jordan was louder than any argument. They drove home with the radio off, the car thick with tension. Jordan's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. Alyssa, sitting beside him, fidgeted with her necklace. When they finally got home, Jordan didn't go to the bedroom. He went straight to the couch and sat down, staring blankly at the dark television screen. Alyssa followed him, trying to lighten the mood. "You were really quiet tonight." He didn't look at her. "Who is he really?" "I told you, just an old friend." Jordan turned his head slowly, eyes filled with disbelief. That didn't look like friendship. Alyssa felt her heart thud in her chest. She had expected jealousy, but not this coldness. "Are you seriously mad?" Jordan stood. "I'm not mad, I'm confused. You let some guy from your past just show up and sit with us like I wasn't even there. He touched you. He knew things about you I didn't." "So yeah, Alyssa, I'm confused." Before she could respond, he grabbed a blanket and a pillow and walked back to the couch. She stood in the hallway, feeling like the game had already cost her more than she bargained for. The next day, Alyssa was still shaken by Jordan's reaction. But what rattled her even more was the message waiting on her phone. It was from Dean. "That went well, he's definitely bothered." "But are you?" She stared at the screen, heart skipping. She typed back, "You were a little over the top." Dean replied almost instantly, "Sorry, got caught up, hard not to when it feels real." Alyssa froze. "Feels real?" She called Mia, pacing her bedroom. "Dean's starting to get weird." Mia, chewing gum on the other end, sounded amused. "Weird how?" "He's too invested. Like he's catching feelings." There was a pause. "Well, you're gorgeous and you hired a guy to pretend to love you. What did you expect?" "I expected him to act," Alyssa snapped. "Not blur the lines." Later that afternoon, Dean messaged again. "You're not just a role to me anymore." Alyssa stared out her window at the city skyline, emotions churning. This was supposed to be a simple test. Fake jealousy, real results. But now, the man she brought into her relationship to shake things up was threatening to become a real contender. And worse, part of her didn't hate it. 2 days later, Alyssa went for her usual morning jog around Lakeside Park. The crisp wind tugged at her ponytail, and she tried to lose herself in the rhythm of her breath and footsteps. But halfway through her run, she heard someone call her name. She turned, and there was Dean jogging casually toward her in a black athletic shirt and track pants, a towel slung over his shoulder. "Didn't expect to see you here," he said, smiling. Alyssa slowed down, frowning. "What are you doing here?" "Morning run." "Maybe fate," he said, breathless but playful. She narrowed her eyes. "You don't jog. We never talked about jogging." Dean gave a sheepish grin. "Okay, I might have checked your Instagram story." Her blood ran cold. "Dean, this wasn't part of the deal." He stepped closer. "What deal, Alyssa? The one where I pretend to be your ex, or the one where I fall for you?" Her stomach dropped. "We're done. This ends now." He didn't follow her when she turned and walked away, but she felt his eyes on her back the whole time. The test had gone from an act to something far more complicated and dangerous. Alyssa sat curled up on her couch that night, wrapped in a thick throw blanket, her phone buzzing beside her like a guilty conscience. Jordan had barely spoken to her in the past 48 hours, and Dean wouldn't stop texting. The most recent message stared back at her. "I haven't stopped thinking about you." She threw the phone across the couch, burying her face in her hands. This was spiraling fast. Jordan was pulling away, sensing betrayal. And Dean, meant to be a hired illusion, was crossing lines she never expected. Mia came over around 9 p.m. with wine and chocolate. "You look like hell," she said, dropping the bag on the coffee table. "I messed up," Alyssa whispered. Mia poured the wine. "Then unmess it." "But how? I can't explain this to Jordan without looking insane. And Dean, he won't back off." Mia took a long sip, then looked her in the eye. "You wanted to test if Jordan loved you. Well, now he's hurt, confused, and losing trust. So ask yourself this: what's more important, knowing or keeping him?" Alyssa swallowed hard, because maybe, just maybe, she'd already lost both. The tension between Alyssa and Jordan grew thicker with every passing day. Jordan had become suspicious, constantly asking about Dean, and Alyssa struggled to keep her lies in order. One evening, Jordan finally confronted her. "Why do you keep talking to him?" he asked, his voice trembling with frustration. Alyssa stammered, "We're just friends, it's nothing." Jordan's eyes darkened. "He's not acting like just a friend. He looks at you like he still loves you." Alyssa's stomach churned with guilt. This wasn't supposed to spiral like this. She had only wanted to see if Jordan cared enough to fight for her, but now the man she loved seemed to be slipping away, and it was her own doing. The next afternoon, Dean asked to meet Alyssa at a quiet coffee shop. He looked different. Less like the actor she hired and more like a man with a broken heart. "I can't keep pretending," he said, leaning closer across the table. "I thought this was just a job, but I've started to feel something for you. And I don't think your boyfriend deserves you." Alyssa's throat tightened. "This isn't real, Dean. It was never supposed to be real." His voice hardened. "Maybe for you it's a game, but not for me." Alyssa's pulse quickened. She had unleashed something dangerous, emotions she never expected to provoke. Jordan's jealousy finally boiled over during a dinner with friends. Dean, who had casually joined them, kept dropping hints about old times with Alyssa. Jordan snapped, slamming his hand on the table. "Enough, why are you even here?" Everyone at the table went silent. Alyssa tried to calm him, but Jordan's eyes were burning with anger and confusion. "Are you still in love with him?" Jordan demanded in front of everyone. Alyssa's breath caught in her throat. The room felt like it was spinning. The test had gone too far, and now their relationship was hanging by a thread. That night, Alyssa sat alone on her balcony, her thoughts a storm of guilt and fear. She had wanted proof of Jordan's feelings, but instead she had created chaos. She couldn't deny that Dean had a certain charm, and the way he looked at her made her heart skip a beat. Was it possible she was drawn to him too? No, she shook her head, refusing to believe it. This wasn't about Dean. This was about Jordan, the man she loved. But if she loved him, why did it feel like her heart was being tugged in two directions? The following day, Jordan decided to surprise Alyssa at work. But when he arrived, he found her outside with Dean. They were standing closer than they should have been, Dean's hand lightly brushing Alyssa's arm as they talked. Jordan's face turned pale, his jaw clenched tight. He didn't confront them, but Alyssa could feel his stare from across the street. Dean noticed it too and smirked slightly, as if enjoying the power he had over the situation. Alyssa's heart dropped into her stomach. Jordan turned and walked away without saying a word. Something in her told her this might have been the breaking point. That evening, Jordan didn't come home. Alyssa tried calling him, but every call went to voicemail. Her heart pounded with regret. She sat in the dark living room, staring at the door, waiting for him to walk in. Hours passed. When he finally returned, his expression was unreadable. He walked past her without a word and went straight to bed. Alyssa sat frozen on the couch, feeling the weight of her mistake crush her. For the first time, she wondered if she had just lost the love of her life to a test she never should have played. The next day, Dean showed up again, uninvited. He leaned casually against her doorframe, but there was a fire in his green eyes. "Jordan doesn't deserve you," he said firmly. "I've seen the way he looks at you. He doesn't appreciate what he has. I do." Alyssa stared at him, horrified. "You're crossing a line, Dean. This was a job, that's all." He stepped closer. "It's more than that to me." Alyssa felt a chill run down her spine. Dean wasn't playing a role anymore. He was trying to steal her heart, and part of her feared that if Jordan didn't fight for her, Dean just might succeed. That evening, Alyssa sat Jordan down. Her voice trembled as she confessed part of the truth. "I wanted to see how much you care about me. Dean isn't what you think. It was a test." Jordan stared at her, his face pale and stunned. "A test? You don't trust me enough to just talk to me." His voice cracked. "You played with my heart, and now I don't know if I can trust you." Alyssa felt tears prick her eyes. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. She had tried to test his love, but instead she might have destroyed it. The next morning, Dean sent Alyssa a message. "You deserve better. Let me show you." Alyssa deleted it without replying. She realized then that her feelings for Dean were just confusion, born from the chaos she had created. She wanted Jordan, only Jordan. but Jordan wasn't talking to her. He left the house without a word, and she didn't know if he would come back. Alyssa sat in the silence, her heart aching with regret, wondering if the damage was too deep to fix. 3 days later, Jordan returned. His eyes were tired, his voice softer than before. "I needed time," he said. "What you did hurt me. But I still love you. I just need to know this will never happen again." Alyssa nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Never. I'm so sorry." They embraced, but the wound was still there, an invisible scar between them. As for Dean, he vanished from her life, leaving only a memory of the mess she had created. Alyssa learned the hard way that trust can't be tested like a game, it must be nurtured. If you enjoyed this story of love, betrayal, and redemption, don't forget to subscribe for more emotional twists and unforgettable tales.